You know, there was a big filing that took place yesterday that I actually missed, but this is the last step that was necessary for a big institutional push when it comes to ADA. And I want to talk about that with you guys, but I also do want to talk about something that very quietly has been happening in terms of ADA. In fact, this week has almost once again become the largest week we have seen since March. And right now, basically, all these big people, when it comes to ADA, they're prepping, they're trying to accumulate, they're building their positions before everything in the market decides to run wild. And I want to talk about that with you guys as well. So if you are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below, hit that subscribe button, that bell, it's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So I'm not going to talk too much about price in this video, but what I will say is that every time we've gone on one of these bigger retracements, if you guys haven't noticed by many of the whale updates in the space, they've just been building and building and building and accumulating and rounding out their positions. And something I didn't get to talk about actually in that analysis that took place in my earlier video today, one of the things he mentioned was that, oh yeah, while this is all going on, whales are selling. And this was in reference to the crypto market in general. And actually here in 2025, actually throughout this market cycle, whales have made their positions larger and larger and larger. That's been the case for ADA for a very long period of time. Whales now here in 2025 have more ADA than they did to start the year. And so what they're doing is they're prepping themselves for big adoption. They're prepping themselves for institutional adoption as well. And we obviously know that right now we're waiting for this approval of an ADA spot ETF, which the deadline for that has been pushed to late October. And some people are still under the assumption that we're not going to get an ADA ETF period, but the likelihood of this actually taking place just gets better and better and better. In fact, we've surged back to about 90% likelihood of this taking place. And this is coming off of the news of Grayscale actually filing the S1 for the ADA spot ETF. Now, this is a big deal because this was the last document that is needed for the ADA spot ETF to in fact be approved and go live. Now, usually Grayscale and other entities will file these S1s right as approvals are about to happen, usually within a month or so. I'm not saying that's going to be the case for sure, because obviously the deadline for this has been pushed all the way to late October. That's 2 months away, but this is a pretty big deal nonetheless. And it shows that basically everybody's ready for some bigger institutional adoption when it comes to altcoins. And what's interesting is that we are in fact seeing the fundamentals for ADA continue to show this adoption and preparation as well. In fact, when we look across this week, what has taken place every single day over the last 7 days is accumulation and removal of supply. Accumulation and removal of supply. I know we talk about that a lot, but remember, ADA has a finite supply. And what we've seen since all the way back at the height of the last market cycle is exchange supply dwindle. Exchange supply dwindle. There's eventually a point where that creates this big boom in price because there's simply just not enough to go around. And in fact, we look at this last week for ADA here in general. This week so far, $85 million, $86 million worth of ADA removed from exchanges, making it almost the largest week that we have seen since all the way back here in March. Last week was the largest week since March. We are on the verge of now actually surpassing that, which would be a very big deal. And it continues to show you that there's this major conviction and excitement when it comes to ADA and the future of what Cardano and ADA can do. It's a pretty big deal. Now, I will say that doesn't mean that we're not fighting against things right now. In fact, I noticed something just looking at this liquidation heat map in terms of ADA, and you guys can see that we have huge leverage stacking up right above ADA on the short side. We have some big leverage on the downside here, and I'll talk more about that and what we're looking like on the weekly in just a moment here. But if you guys haven't noticed, there are people that are playing some pretty aggressive games here. In fact, leading into yesterday's PCE report, just take a look at this. It basically jumped from, where was I here? It jumped from 16.43 million to 22.31 million. There was major betting taking place leading into that report yesterday. They were really trying to push price down and manipulate prices. So yes, there is manipulation. There are major games being played right now. They're trying to force some kind of retail sentiment that really isn't there right now. And yes, we have entered the fearful range in the fear greed index, and that's fine because when we get down to those ranges, it's usually an opportunity zone, and it usually means that there's a lot of room for the crypto market to move. But it's becoming very clear that they are trying to play these games and manipulate sentiment in the crypto market, and the news right now just simply isn't supporting it, which is that's at least the best sign that we have. Now, in terms of leverage here, just understand that we do have a thick concentration of leverage on the downside, down at about 80 cents or so. So you could see obviously ADA cut through that. We've talked about 78 cents before. 78 is kind of our next range of support down here. That's the bottom of this range. Like we've talked about, ADA does not like to stay in these ranges here. So if we don't get this bounce and confirmation off of our 50-day moving average, just understand that that could be where we're headed. I'm not saying I'm bearish or anything like that, because at the same time, we have all this leverage stacking up and massive, massive leverage between 88 to 90 cents. And you guys know that 90 cents is top of that next range of from 84 to 90 cents. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Good things are in the works. We're making progress. This weekend might be a little bit lower in terms of volume. Again, big week is next week, this coming week rather, and we'll obviously have to wait and see what happens. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.